सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Please search Sharnagata Mataji. She is currently going to India for the next 5 weeks. So, by her mercy, she gave me the opportunity to lead the class. But before I say something, I want to mention that I'm unqualified, and therefore I seek all the devotees that are present here, their blessings. And I also want to ask for guidance from Vikas Prabhuji and Radhadas Prabhuji. If I make any mistake, please correct me. And there are devotees here which are older to me than in age and in spiritual knowledge. So I want to seek their guidance. And yes, at the end of the class, or if I make any mistake, please correct me and please help me. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading text number 15. And it's a very important verse in the Bhagavad Gita. So I think we will start with the verse. So Hare Krishna, Valadadas Prabhuji, would you like to help us in the pronunciation of the verse? Hare Krishna.
Dhanyavad Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay, it's chapter 17, text number 15. It's page number 650 on the English Bhagavad Gita. So the words are like this. First, I'll go read it, then I'll recite it both ways. So the wording are Anudvega Karam Vakyam Satyam Priyahitam Chayat Swadhyayabhyasanam Chaiva Vangmayam Tapa Uchyate. And then Prabhupada has written in a Sanskrit and as well as in English with decompounded wording. So in English it says Anudvega Karam Vakyam Satyam Priyahitam Chayat Swadhyaya Bisanam Chaiva Vangmayam Tapa Uchyate. Anudvega Karam Vakyam Satyam Priyahitam Chayat Swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva Vangmayam tapa uchyate. It's very easy. Yes, if you go it slowly, I think it's not that hard. Only the word Swadhyayabhyasanam that you have to be careful, right? Okay. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Try it, please.
Hare Krishna. Srimati's reading. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Harshita's reading. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyaya swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Krishna. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat स्वाध्याय अभ्यासनं चैव वाङ्मयं तप उच्यते. Hare Krishna.
So I suggest we will do
So
the
would anybody else like to recite the verse?
because some people also wanted to buy the cookies. They have cookies there, the Kabbalah cookies. And if we did another one on the rest area, we can do another
Hare
one.
Krishna. Would anybody else like to recite the verse?
Mataji, give me 1 minute. I'm getting to the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 17, verse 15. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Would anybody else like to recite the verse? Sudendra Prabhuji and anybody else? Oh, okay. So we will move on with the synonyms and then the translation and then the purport. So anudvegakaram, not agitating. Vakyam, words. Satyam, truthful. Priya, dear. Hitam, beneficial. Cha, also. Yat, which. Swadhyay, of Vedic study. Abhyasanam, practice. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Vakmayam, of the voice. Tapa, austerity. Uchyate is said to be. Translation. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. And purport by Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not students if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from such discussion, from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very, very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate the human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, like I said in the beginning, I think this is a very important verse, and I think it has a big relevance in our life, especially because words play a big role in how we communicate with each other. So, in the beginning of the 17th chapter, Krishna, he talks about what comes into what mode and what type of activities come into each mode, and well, it is said in the book by Chaitanya Prabhuji, which is based on Baladev Vidyabhushan's commentary, that it said that because the thing is, we have different that may like religious yajna, tapa and dana. That's basically what Krishna categorizes into different modes of nature. And these three activities, they're really important because they link to how we perceive the outer world. For example, how we perform yajna, it reflects how we conceive our relationship with the universe, and how we perform dana or charity, it reflects how we conceive our relationship with society, and how we perform austerity, it reflects how we conceive our relationship with the body. And these three parts are really important because the thing is, they might be religious, but then what motive we have behind them, they classify into what modes we have. For example, as it's mentioned that the sacrifice which is performed in the 12th verse of the 17th chapter, it's mentioned that the sacrifice which is performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride is in the mode of passion. Now, sacrifice is generally a Vedic term, and it's supposed to come in the Vedic literature, but when we do it for our own, for pride or for the sake of gaining prestige or for like showing off to others, and that comes in the mode of passion, although it's a Vedic ritual or Vedic sacrifice. So such things, they can help us analyze what is the motive, and helps us discern the differences between the non-religious or irreligious motives of people. And then Krishna talks about austerity, and then she mentions, I think in the last chapter, that austerity of the body consists in worship of the Supreme Lord, and then austerity that is done in self-harm, and austerity that is done with disregard for the directions of the scriptures, and without chanting Vedic hymns and remunerations, it's considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So thus, I feel like this chapter is also a bit important, and especially the 15th verse. So, as Srila Prabhupada is discussing over here, that one should speak in such a way that is truthful and is pleasing. And often truthful and pleasing sometimes contradict each other, because the truth is always unpalatable. But then it also depends on the tone on which we deliver the truth, because the truth may be unpalatable, but our tone, it also reflects how we deliver it. Because some people, they might be not very perceptive towards the truth, but we should always try to present it in such a way that it's pleasing. But of course, truth should be regarded higher. And when should we speak the truth? Well, it's also mentioned that we should speak the truth when it benefits others, and it shouldn't agitate others. And that's not always the case, but we should try to speak truth in such a way that it benefits and it helps others. For example, when Vibhishan, he was trying to give advice to Ravana, he was speaking the truth, but he was speaking it to Ravana for his own benefit, to free Mother Sita. But before that, Ravana also did a lot of heinous crimes, and that time I feel like when Vibhishan advised him, it wasn't that strong as he advised him when Ravan abducted Mother Sita, because then it was supposed to help Ravan more, and it was supposed to be more beneficial to him. So I feel like the truth is also should be spoken, and should be spoken palatably, and should be spoken for the benefits of others. And yes, that's what I feel on this verse. Does anyone have any comments or any suggestions or anything to add? Vikas Prabhuji, Halada Prabhuji, I would really like to hear from you guys. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you, Mataji, and really congratulations that you're leading to us, and we are very pleased to listen your lectures. One thing I kindly like to request a old guy like me, that if you talk a little slower, I really appreciate, because before I catch the words, you're going faster then. So please go slowly, and that's my first request. This, as you say, this text number 15, it is a very important. Yes, I see how we talk to others. That is the most important. It's in talking in many different ways. We do social communications, teaching procedures, then giving lectures. So our main intention is to deliver the message of the Lord or scriptures of Guru Maharaj to others. So the communications, how other people accept it, and how you deliver it, it's the most important part that's here. So Now, many times the word we use, the people are not following the scriptures, or even in a society, it is very difficult to please the other person while you're talking, So, some level, people do feel bad about it, but there should be a tolerance level there, what we're talking. So that's the most part I see. It is not that easy. It's a very difficult to deliver a message. A scripture message we give it is because of it's written there, it's approved there. So other person will not try to blame us for that. But still, delivering the messages to other person, how you can convince him. The language should be like that to convince other persons what messages you want to deliver. That's what I think right now. So if any other person wants to say it, please do it. And good luck to you, Mataji. Very nice. Thank you. We'll discuss a little more. I like to listen more about it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving the realizations. And yes, Prabhuji, I'll try to speak a bit. I'll speak slowly. But thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing your realizations. Vikas, Prabhuji, anything else you'd like to say?
As Haladhar Das Prabhu has very clearly mentioned, you don't need any help or any further guidance. You are most qualified, especially because of the blessings that your parents bring to you, that you are so well established on this path. So that's the first thing. Second, we are really extremely happy. Just a few days ago, I was like, oh Lord, show me an example of how the next generation is picking up and progressing along and even adding to the movement that has been started. And then as soon as I heard you speak, I was like, here is the proof. The Lord is giving right away the proof. The question came in my mind yesterday, today, here is the proof. So I wanted to share that with you. So thank you so much. We are really happy to hear from you. I just wanted to add as a service a couple of thoughts there. So, as we started reading this shloka, the first thing I thought of was about the nectar of instruction, the very first verse, Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam. So the reason in the nectar of instruction, the very first words and the very first word in it and the first instruction is to control the Vega, the urge, the propensity to speak. So, and this verse is talking about how to control and use that power that Lord has given us to speak properly. And what I assimilate from this verse is that ideally we should only speak of the Lord, of His names, pastimes, paraphernalia, of His devotees, of bhakti, that which is our relationship with Him. And if that is not the subject matter to be spoken of, because you are in a circumstance that that's not conducive, then it is better to remain silent. So we jiver swarup hai nitya Krishna Das. So that's the first duty. And if you cannot perform that duty, then in a materialistic sense, we should as much as possible observe silence. Then the second thing is, but in material world, we have to speak. So when do we speak? When asked to speak, then we speak. And then we only speak truth. And yes, there will be times where the truth is not palatable. So we should speak the truth in such a way, as you said, not to agitate others. But there may be times where it may agitate others and you still have to speak the truth because you've been asked, the situation demands that you have to speak the truth. So you do it because that's your duty. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for the realizations. And actually, I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, especially the point you said that that we should only speak about the Lord and about the Lord, because and also in the purport, Shri Prabhupada says that the teacher that you also mentioned, Prabhuji, that when we speak the truth, of course sometimes it's unpalatable, but we should always speak the truth regardless. And Prabhupada also mentions in this purport that when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students. So I actually remember the point which I heard in a lecture a few times ago, some time ago, that sometimes when we see other people do something that is actually what we consider incorrect, and sometimes we go and try to instruct them, they don't always accept the instruction. They don't accept the truth. So what I've heard is that we should try to approach their seniors, and they can then instruct them, because then I think that's much more I think they appreciate it much more. So yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much for giving your realizations. Uh Wali Mataji, Sharanagata Mataji, anything else you would like to add? Oh,
Krishna.
Shamrashika Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I missed your first part. I mean, when I joined, it was already over how you explained this verse. I was really curious to know how you are explaining this. So, verse number 15, right? So, what my Guru Maharaj practically always says to us, that whenever you are talking, there are so many thoughts come into your mind, right? When there is a conversation going on. So before you open your mouth, always try to filter, like in your mind, that is it something necessary? Is it really beneficial for others and overall, in general, to everyone? Then only you can speak up. Also, like as you said, that like people don't take advice. So just 2 days back, someone asked the same question when he was here, and that time also he said that like if it is asked, I mean, even the Lord Krishna, he also never gave advice to Arjuna in the first chapter. Complete chapter, Arjuna is complaining and talking about, like, how I should not be fighting here. But Lord Sri Krishna, he did not say a word. He was just listening. So you should be in a listening mode more, especially when you are a teacher. And when asked, like, when someone asks you for the advice, then only when they are ready to accept your advice, when they are at the point that they will be looking forward for the advice, then only you should speak. And while speaking, before speaking, you should definitely filter out, and whatever is important, that only you speak. It is very nice and very useful to speak the Krishna Katha all the time. Like when Amarendra Prabhu was visiting us, we were all the devotees sitting, and he was saying that like everything around your house or anywhere we go, you should be able to connect it to the Krishna. And then, even if you are seeing something, it should remind you of Krishna. So this is like a very high level devotee, but devotees like beginner level or devotees like us, where we go to the material world also, at least in mind, we try to practice it. I mean, it will not automatically happen, but like before doing the any kind of a job, before doing any kind of a service, or before speaking, if you are training your mind to look at everything as a Krishna's part and parcel, or a creation of a Krishna, and able to connect it to the Krishna. So then when you will try to speak, automatically, uh, automatically you will be able to share his message in some or the other way. So these are some of the thoughts on how your speech should be, and that will be beneficial, and it will not agitate to others. But it happens that it agitate to others many a times. But if it is beneficial for the others, I mean, especially when the relation between the Guru and Shishya, so Guru Maharaj can definitely agitate you, he can scold you, or he has all the rights to do that. And a student should take it very happily that, oh, my guru is thinking about me, my guru is like, thinking high about me, and that's the reason he is trying to guide me. So this is a way of taking that agitation, I mean, taking um, that his advice without getting agitated. And it happens because guru will speak to break our ignorance, and breaking something is definitely always agitating. So that also we have to keep it in mind. But uh, while we doing it to others, we have to take care that we should not be agitating, because we are not anyone's guru, we are not at the higher position. We have to always go back and think about what sadhana I am doing to give such a kind of advice. And you should give the advice always in a humble and very compassionate way. Compassion is there if you really want the progress of that person. Then sometimes you say something, but then if the emotion behind that is a compassion, then automatically it becomes very sweet. Like Prabhupada used to scold his disciple, or he was very strict in the beginning also, but there was so much compassion that they all stayed with him. So there should be compassion, and that compassion will come because of the sadhana. So the more your tongue is chanting the mantra and reading the scriptures, the more compassion will be there within you. And when you speak to others, definitely you will not agitate. Definitely you will not hurt other people. So that is a key thing. So I'll just stop here, Mataji. Maybe you must have covered these points, but I joined little late, so I'm just repeating as a service. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for giving your wonderful points. And yes, Mataji, I think what you said is it's really nice that we can really apply it in our day-to-day life. So yes, Mataji, is it okay if we move on to the next verse?
Yes,
Um,
please.
Text 16. Hare Krishna, Palada Prabhuji, would you like to take the pronunciation for this verse?
Yes, Mataji. Dhanyavad. Thank you. So we are in chapter 17, text number 16. The wordings are Manaha Prasadaha Saumyatvam Maunamatma Vinigraha Bhava Samsiddharityetat Tapomanasam Uchyate, or Tapomanasam Uchyate. So in the Sanskrit way, you can go both ways. Manaha Prasada Saumyatvam Maunam Atma Vinigraha Bhava Samsiddhir iti etat tapomanasam uchyate, or you can go Sanskrit way. Manaha prasada saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samsuddhirichetat tapomanasam uchyate. Try it, please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srimati is reading. Mana prasad saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirutyetat tapo manasamuchyate. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful, very nice.
Hare Krishna, Krishna speaking. Manaha prasada samyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhi tat tapomanasam uchyate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Manah prasad saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samshruddhi rityeta tapo manasamuchyate. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Mana prasadha saumyatvam maunamatma nivigraha bhava samshuddhirichetat तोपमानसमुच्यते. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, chapter 17, verse 16. Mana prasada saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhim iti etat tapo manasam uchyate. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, would anybody else like to read? Okay, Hare Krishna. Word for word. Mana prasada, satisfaction of the mind. Samyatvam, being without duplicity towards others. Manam, gravity. Atma, of the self. Vinigraha, control. Bhava, of one's nature. Samshuddhi, purification. Iti, thus. Etat, this. Tapa, austerity. Manasam, of the mind. Uchyate, is said to be. Translation. And satisfaction, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purification of one's existence are the austerities of the mind. Hare Krishna, would anybody like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada teacher. To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can always be thinking of doing good for others. Best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness, and one must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealings and thereby purify existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So then again, I also feel this verse is also important because in some chapters ago, like previous chapters, Krishna mentions that controlling the mind is also really important. And then Arjun also mentions that my mind is really fickle and it's obstinate and it's really strong. And then Krishna then again mentioned that regulation of senses and mantra meditation because the word mantra means one that frees the mind, one that controls the mind. So I feel that is also really important because, of course, the mind is important because then if it's not controlled, it becomes the worst enemy, and if it's controlled, it's the friend. So I also feel this verse is really important. And if we move to the purport, then Sri Prabhupada says that the mind can only be satisfied if we don't think about sense enjoyment. And I feel this resonates a lot with us because we know a lot of people that are really famous and have a lot of wealth, but then the thing is they're not happy, and then we still see that there's a lot of bad things going on, a lot of trouble going on in the world because the mind's not happy, the mind is not satisfied. And then we see that people are living so simply, we see devotees live so simply that they're always satisfied. They don't complain in that regard as that of the materialist because their mind is satisfied. And then so I feel this really resonates with me. And then Srila Prabhupada then again mentions that the best training for the mind is to have gravity in thought, which means we should always be thinking about Krishna and avoid sense gratification. And in the previous verse, Sharanagata Mataji and Vikas Prabhuji also said that that from this verse we learn that we should always talk about Krishna, because and then we can and we when we talk about, we speak the truth, it should also be compassionate, so then it doesn't become unpalatable. So and then that only comes when we have strong sadhana, when we have Krishna in our center. So I feel that's the same for this verse, that because the more we become Krishna conscious, the more our mind is trained, and that can be done when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because it helps free the mind, it helps control the mind, and then yes, and yeah. So I feel this verse is also important. Would anybody else like to add anything? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, it is the very first statement of the purpose is to make the mind austere, is to detach it from the sense gratifications. That tells the whole Krishna consciousness here. One sentence is detached from the sense gratifications. That's what we all are struggling all the time to satisfy our senses. So that sentence is to make the mind austere is to detach from the sense gratification. And it should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. And that in reference to that sense statements, if you go chapter 6, text number 32 on page 285, it says, Atmopamyena sarvatra tamam pashyati Arjuna sukam vayadi dukam sayogi paramo mataha. He is the perfect yogi who is the comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. So that refers to this statement, says, and I think that makes a deeper Krishna consciousness statements here given by the Guru Maharaj. And more I see the controlling of the mind, like it's been mentioned by the Lord, and Arjun Maharaj questions on 633 says, Yoyam yoga swaya prokta samyena madhusudana itasyam na pashyami chanchalatva stitim stiram. Arjun Maharaj said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is a restless and uh, unsteady, yeah. So, but Lord has shown how to train the mind. And on the 34, and in 635, asamsayam mahabaho manodurnigram chalam abhyasena tukonte vairagyena chagriyate. So it is very, very deep statement and a few lines. That's what I see, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Can then somebody else say more about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So I very nicely you talked about this verse. I just liken it very stuck to me while reading the purport. First of all, as Prabhuji mentioned, the first line is that austerity of a mind is to detach it from sense gratification. So why is that as a austerity? Because when we are in this material world, this material body, and these three gunas, these forces are um, making us like making that mind always think about the sense gratification. So asking mind to stop thinking about that and engage in the Krishna service is actually a kind of a austerity. It is something that voluntarily we taking that pain, and that for the greater goods. That is the definition of the austerity: voluntarily taking pain for the greater good. So mind, when not thinking about this sense enjoyment, because all these forces, all this material world, it is meant so that it will keep us engaged here. So we are going against the flow, like, if you are swimming in the river, and if you are trying to go against the flow, it is very hard. And that is exactly what is austerity we are doing with the mind, by not thinking it about the sense gratification. The second thing, it is saying that the mind should be devoid of a duplicity and just think about the welfare. So I really like this, that um, because our nature of our soul is to be servant of others, we are always in a mode to help others. So let it naturally flow, like let it be servant of others. Let's serve others, let help others, and there should not be any duplicity. So when the duplicity come, when we are doing something, but back of our mind we are thinking that what's in it for me? How will I get an advantage of this person? I'm helping him, but like, how I he will help me, because the amount he will help me back, I'm going to help him that much only. So all these duplicity will come, or all these thoughts comes, because we are thinking of taking advantage of someone. And why we are thinking of taking advantage of someone? Because we want to satisfy our senses, or there we are looking for something, sense gratification in it. Like at least someone should say greater things about me, so like you're satisfying your ego. So some thing is there, like, and that um, when we are having that sense gratification uh, involved in any kind of a conversation or interaction, then the duplicity come into there. So like, if you are not thinking about the sense gratification and simply serving others without any expectation, that is the simplicity. So how this satisfaction and simplicity and sense gratification, avoiding sense gratification, how this all comes, that is what I was talking about. And even if it is austerity, even if you are going against the flow, still that is a nature of our soul, to be with Krishna, to be thinking about the Krishna, serving Krishna, and also serving Krishna's parts and parcel. So that's why it feels satisfaction, because if you take advantage of someone, it will not feel any type of satisfaction. You feel that like pinch in your heart, that, oh, why I did it. So instead of that, you just serve simply in a simple mood, that I want to serve. I don't want any kind of a any kind of a, I don't want to take advantage of this person, but I simply want to serve. So this simplicity will lead to the complete satisfaction. So that is what I really liked it. And because it is austerity, it is not what always your mind is ready for. Sometimes you don't even like the people in front of you, but still you are doing it. So that will, and you are doing it for the Krishna's pleasure, because Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart, and that is the reason it will purify yourself. So these are some of the point I really like from this purport, and thank you, Mataji, for nice explanation.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing such nice realizations. Vikas Prabhuji, anything to add? Or anything to say? Chamrishika Mataji. Uh,
Nothing much to add, Mataji.
Yeah, you explained very nicely. I'm listening, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vikas Prabhu, please go ahead.
thank you, Mataji. Vikas Prabhuji, anything to add or say?
One last minute thought, if you all don't mind. I missed that sentence. Silence means that one is always thinking of self realization. So, thinking about the material things is a noisy thing, versus thinking about the Krishna is a silence. So, that I really like we see in the beginning, how these Kauravas, when they blew the shankha and everything, that was a noisy, because their what is the intention behind it, that is very important. So when we talk about the material satisfaction and material thing, it is a noise, it is just adding noise to the environment. But when we talk about the Krishna, it is adding purification or a silence to the environment. So thinking your mind, thinking about Krishna is a silence, but thinking about self gratification is a noise. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for your realization. Should we move on to another verse, or should we stop here? Would anybody else like to say anything? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Mataji, last verse is 17th verse is small, so you may we can read that and we will start the penances. I mean, you can start the penances next week.
Okay, Mataji. Halada Prabhuji, would you like to do the pronunciations of this verse? Or Mataji, should we directly read it? Or should we just read the translation and do the verse next class?
Yes, you can read it. Next time we can cover this. So go ahead, you read Sanskrit, word to word and translation.
Okay, Mataji. Shaddadaya paryataptam tapastatrividam nare afalakankshabhiryukte satvikam parichakshate. So word for word is Shraddhaya, with faith, Paraya, transcendental, Taptam, executed, Tapa, austerity, that, Trividam, of three kinds, Nare, by men, Apala, Akankshibi, who are without desires for fruits, Yukte, engaged, Satvikam, in the mode of goodness, Parikshate is called. So translation. This threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity and goodness. And one thing which I've read, before I started the class was from a book by Chaitanya Prabhuji, and he mentions that Krishna, he talks about three things mainly in this chapter. That is austerity, that is charity, and that is penance. I think so. Yes. Austerity, yagya, austerity, and charity, sacrifice, charity, and penance. And I think and then Prabhuji mentioned that the reason why Krishna talks about these in particular is because they signify our faith and how we relate with the universe, how we relate with things outside, how we relate with these things on a broader perspective. So austerity, which I think is important, because because then again this is mentioned, like we were discussing in the past verses, the austerity of speech, austerity of mind, because and then it helps us with how we conceive our relationship with our body, and it also helps us perceive and how we see ourselves and how we see others. So, and it also signifies our faith, because in the beginning at 17.2, Krishna, he starts by saying 17.3, that according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. And the living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. And according to the different modes, so like, for example, austerity in the mode of goodness, we have control over speech, control over mind. So yes, I feel so. Yes, these are my realizations on this verse. So Hare Krishna. And one more thing which I'd really like to say is that it says it's engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, because when we do austerity, it's done to satisfy Krishna, because of course the ultimate goal is how our actions are pleasing Krishna, and sometimes if they're not pleasing Krishna, we have to think back on why are we doing this. And I remember a few classes ago, Mataji was mentioning that sometimes when we come to sense gratification, we have to always think, is this going to help me in my relationship with Krishna? Is this going to help me? How is this going to help me deepen my relationship with Krishna? And when Mataji was mentioning that point, I really thought about it and it's helped me a lot. So now when I'm reading this, I kind of think back to it, that when we engage in sacrifice, austerity, it should only be done for the sake of Krishna, for the sake of the Supreme Lord, and we should not expect material benefits. So, yes, this is my realization. Anything else? Hare Krishna, Mataji's and Prabhuji's.
Beautiful point, Sumati Mataji. Thank you. I really liked how Krishna is a great teacher. I mean, first he explained what is the austerity of mind, uh, tongue, and body. He explained in detail to Arjuna, and then he mentions that by these three, whatever austerity you do, and that is for the satisfaction of the Lord, then it is called as a austerity in mode of goodness. So, and now he will explain passion and ignorance. Really like the flow of these four verses. First, we have to understand what are these austerities, and then only Krishna is coming to the. So, he's a great teacher. I was just thinking about it. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Vikas Prabhu, anything from you?
Hare Krishna. The way I was thinking about the word austerity is austerity means, in one sense, being austere means not utilizing too much, being simple. That's one way to look at austerity. Austerity also, in another sense, the English language defines the word austerity as being steadfast. So if you think of both these meanings, one, why we need to be simple, because nothing belongs to us in this world. So that that thought, carrying that thought through, will make us simple. Will make us not crave for things and covet things, or even if the Lord has blessed us, we will still be utilizing it frugally or for His benefit. So that's one way to look at austerity. The other way to look at austerity is also in the sense that whatever vows we undertake, we need to hold to them steadfastly. And that is tapa in proper sense of even the Sanskrit meaning of that word. The other way we look at it is tapa also means that we generate heat. Tapa is also with, can be understood in that sense. How we generate the heat is the heat of spirituality. We are Jada Tattva. We are basically matter, right? But matter expands when it is heated. Similarly, our spirituality expands through tapa. So that's another way to look at austerity. And just look at how merciful the Lord is, because one of the ways I always think about is, no matter whether, the even in material world, if we do austerity, there is always equal and opposite reaction, as in there will be a benefit that will accrue to us even materially. That is simple law of karma. So the Lord is merciful even to materialists who are performing austerity, and He rewards them. So He rewards us also spiritually. So what then when we say that it is, when you do austerity, we are performing sacrifice, there really is no sacrifice. Whether it is material, we are benefited. Whether it is a spiritual austerity, we are benefited. It is the Lord's mercy that He thinks that this is sacrifice. He says this is austerity. Otherwise, when we are endeavoring, it is always going to bring us benefit. So, we have to think how merciful the Lord is to call that as austerity, to call that as sacrifice. Hare Krishna.
That was a beautiful point, Prabhuji. Very nice. When you were saying about the tapa, I remember from Srimad Bhagvatam that how Brahmaji is first that Lord had given him the advice is to do the tapa. So this complete material world is meant so that we will do this tapa. And as you said, that it is really not austerity. It is not really um, any kind of a sacrifices, because everything is going to give you something more than what you are putting in. So yes, um, so that is what this complete universe or Brahmanda is meant for. So thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, dear devotees, I had a question. So, as we know that when everything is used in the service of Krishna, it gradually becomes purified. So, when Dhruva Maharaj, he actually wanted a kingdom, but then when he went to Krishna, he said that what I was asking was for broken glass. But so the thing is, we gradually become purified as we come in contact with Krishna and devotees. So, my question was that sometimes when we begin austerity, we may not have I mean, I may not have this very good intentions, but can austerity be purified? So that was my question.
So what I understand, Mataji, is in Bhagavad Gita only Krishna said that 4 type of people they approaches me: Artho, Artharthi, Jignasu, and Jnani. So Artho and Artharthi are these 2 kind of a people who are in like great trouble, like a Gajendra was, or people who want something like a Dhruva Maharaj. So these 2 kind of a people will get purified. I mean, like, yeah, our austerity will get purified if it is for the if we are going to the Krishna. Even if in the beginning it is for ourselves, even if it is like I want something and that's why I'm doing this austerity, but whom I'm contacting, if I'm contacting to the Krishna, it will get purified. And then throughout the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned many a times that if you go to other demigods, it might not get purified. They will just give you what you want, and your thirst for that material thing will keep on increasing. But Krishna, he's the father of all of us, so he will cut out that. I mean, he will also not give it so easily. Sometimes it is seen in the scripture he had given it very easily, but many a times he will not give it very easily. I mean, your that particular want for material things, he will take away that and then he will give that. So there are both the things, because he's very merciful. He's our, and he really want us back to Godhead. So that's why the way he will give, it will be in such a form that your thirst will satisfy immediately, and you will completely become purified, and you will become more and more Krishna conscious. So that's why it is better to approach Krishna even if it is material thing. And yes, it will get purified if we are going to the Krishna.
Okay,
And
Mataji.
yeah,
Thank you, Mataji.
anybody else? Any other thought, Vikas Prabhu, Halatadas Prabhuji, on this same particular topic, what she asked?
I see this chapter and these verses are, we have to practice what the Lord has been teaching in the previous chapters, So this is like a more homework for us to do it, by practicing this previous lesson Lord has been mentioned. So it's a nice, and I'm really enjoying listening Mataji, young Mataji, and I'm very, very proud of her trying this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vikas Prabhuji, Shamarshika Mataji. Anything you would like to add?
Nothing to add, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So, Mataji, should we end? Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Shruti Mataji. Very nice explanation. And at your age, you're doing so nice service and explaining Bhagavad Gita. So thank you so much. And we had Association of Sharanagata Mataji today, but we're going to miss her. But whenever possible, Mataji, please try to join and give your association. Yeah. And
Yes,
thank
Mataji, I
you
will
all,
plan my
Das
best.
Prabhu, Haladar Prabhu, for explaining very nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Yes, I'll be leaving tomorrow evening, but I will try to join whenever I can. And very nicely, Mataji, you are explaining. I just joined today late, but whenever I can, I will definitely join. About this austerity, I really have one point that you all can think about. It is like a homework, meditate on it. That Prabhu, we know that there are threefold miseries, like that there are threefold austerities, and austerities of the mind, and austerity of a body. And Krishna did not mention austerity of a senses. He just mentioned about the austerity of a speech. Now speech is how he's making it different. Like a speech is a different thing than, like, mind and then body. It would have been very easy saying that, like, body, mind and senses, because that is what are the layers. So homework for all of us to meditate. Even I don't know the answer, like why it is, like, kind of categorized like that. I know, like, in many scripture it starts with the speech is very important, but why it is separated like that? So something to think about. But wonderful class and very nice explanation, contribution by everyone. Thank you, Mataji, for taking up this job. It is also austerity to study, prepare yourself, and this is definitely very purifying. I mean, even if you read and you prepare Bhagavad Gita, it really purifies your mind and senses, and you will experience that, Mataji. So thank you again for taking up this service. Hari Bol, Hari Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for giving me the opportunity to serve. So, Hare Krishna. Mataji, should we end class right here?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, you can
Okay,
say
Mataji.
the last prayer. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarubhishta kripasindhubhaya vacha patitanam Hare Nantakoti Vaishnav ki
Jai.
Jai.
Himachal Shrinath Thakur ki Jai.
Jai.
Gita ki Jai.
Jai.
Pargare Sumati Mataji ki Jai.
Hey,
Hari
hey.
Bol.
All
Hari
Vaishnavas ki
Jai.
Jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Happy Ganapati Utsav, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sumati Mataji. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Hare Krishna, Surinder Prabhu from joining. Actually, they are traveling to Turkey and Istanbul, Middle East. So, thank you for joining from there. Hare Krishna. What time is there, Prabhuji, now? There?
About 3:30 p.m.
3:30? Okay. Nice, nice. Okay, enjoy your trip, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna.